Welcome to 100 Yards of Football this morning. I'm your host, Vincent Turner. And today, our NFL Draft Prospect Special is Mr. Kyle Trask out of the University of Florida. So, if you like the video this morning, please come in and share it. And joining me, as always, this is a very talented young man. He was a scout with the New York Jets from 1997 to 2000. He was under the leadership of Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick. He's the author of Whatever It Takes, one of the best sellers on Amazon. And he currently writes for Sports Illustrated covering the Detroit Lions. So if you like the video today, please come in and share it as I bring to the floor, as he's going to break down Kyle Trask, the quarterback of the University of Florida, Mr. Daniel Kelly. How you doing this morning, sir?
Hey, I'm doing really well as always. How are you doing, Mr. Turner?
So you got a smile on your face this morning. I'm not going to let our audience out there, but I'm going to go and tell them the truth before we get started today. I took the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl yesterday, and Mr. Kelly broke it down to me and took the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because he has a relationship with Todd Bowles, the defensive coordinator with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And we went back and forth for about 4 minutes. And see, I'm the older guy. He's the youngest guy. And we kind of built our heads. And he told me before we hang up, he said, Mr. Turner, the score is going to be 35-18. And I thought he was insane. But we saw how the game turned out yesterday. So kudos. And that's why that young man has a big smile this morning on his face, because he has defeated Vincent Turner in our personal one-on-one matchups. So before we get started, tell us about Kyle Trask, young man.
Well, absolutely, Mr. Turner. I'm humbled that what you said there about the game. I know it could have gone either way, but I'm very humble. But thank you for the props. That's for sure. I appreciate that. Kyle Trask, love him with a capital L. This is a guy that, his body looks a little bit frumpy, but let's not forget, as we talked about the man of the hour last night, Tom Brady, if you go back and Google his combine picture coming out, his body looks frumpy too. So I think Trask is in good company. I feel in my heart that this is Washington's pick at 19. I want to talk for a moment, if I could, to our listeners and also with you, Mr. Turner. This guy is extremely instinctual. He can improvise. He can move around and make things happen like we saw with Mahomes. Not to that degree, but he can improvise. The name Stan Humphries comes to mind, who Joe Gibbs called the greatest regret of his NFL career coaching with Washington was letting go of Stan Humphries, believe it or not. This is a guy that has good pocket awareness and poise. He maintains his focus downfield. He doesn't hear footsteps. He's a polished ball handler. He definitely knows how to handle the ball, how to run play action, and how to do those type of things from the pocket. I mean, if there's a knock on him, it could be his arm strength. He has a decent arm, not great, but decent, good enough to win with, in my opinion. And this is something I really want to highlight. If I had a fluorescent marker right now, Mr. Turner, I would go ahead and highlight this one on this video, because this is the thing about Kyle Trask that really made an impression on me, scouting formerly in the NFL, and that is that he makes quick decisions with the football. That is critically important. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. If you remember, if we played ball in the neighborhoods back growing up, right? He is releasing that ball very quickly before the pass rush can get to him. Critically important. Makes smart and fast decisions. Good ball placement. Definitely knows where to put the ball downfield. And he can take off. He's somebody who can take off and make some yardage with his feet if he has to. I mean, he's not going to remind anyone of Michael Vick or Randall Cunningham, but he's definitely going to be a guy that can pick up the tough yards when he needs to. And that's critically important. I mean, I love this guy. I'm actually giving him the nod over Mac Jones, who we all know that I love as well, but I'm giving him the nod over him. I would take Kyle Trask 7 days a week, 24 hours a day over Zach Wilson or Trey Lance. This is a guy I really like. He's got a bright future, and I think he's someone we're going to hear a lot of on Sundays in the National Football League. Mr. Turner, your thoughts?
Okay, I'm going to tell you point plain and simple with Kyle Trask. I like his journey. He was a guy. There was a 3-star coming out in the hometown of Marvin, Texas. He did not stop at one game in his high school career as a true freshman. And he backed up to Eric King, who's now the starting quarterback at the University of Miami. He got really known going to a football camp in Florida. And that's how the Florida Gators gave him a scholarship. And you got to give a lot of kudos to Jim McElvain, the head coach at the time, University of Florida, for recognizing this guy. But think about him. He redshirted his first year. Then he had to sit behind four-star quarterbacks. Florida thought Austin Appleby was going to be the man. Florida thought Luke Del Rio, whose father's Jack Del Rio, prominent NFL coach, was going to be the man. Then he had to sit behind, three, Felipe Franks. And he really, while we're talking about him today, he wouldn't even got on the field at Felipe Franks last season, 2019, when he got hurt against Kentucky. But boy, when he got on the field, he seized his opportunity. But the thing about it, he never complained. He worked. He worked and he persevered. And then when I know really when he was an NFL prospect, I'll go back to 2019, first weekend in October, playing the national champions LSU in Baton Rouge. He put 310 on LSU and 3 touchdowns. But think about what he went up against. He went up against 2 guys right now that got drafted in the NFL draft. Christian Fulton, who went in the second round to the Titans, and Grant Delpit, who went in the second round with the Cleveland Browns. Then you look at this year's draft, Kerry Vincent is a high-rated corner. So he went against an NFL secondary with 2 or 3 starts on his belt. And you always know how I do it, Mr. Kelly. I judge players, how they play against big-time talent, big-time game. That's when you tell whether or not a man is ready to go to the next level.
There you
what
go.
you like about him this year, 2020, against the best conference in all of college football, the SEC. Hey, if you think I'm telling any field, go look at the NFL draft list right now. They got 11 players going into the first 20 picks in this draft. He put up almost 4,300 yards, 43 touchdowns, 5 INTs. And think about this, the decision-making. You broke down all the skill level, but the decision-making, I give him an A+. Then think about old school. You know how I do it. He reminds me of a guy, Jim Hart, that played with the St. Louis Cardinals. They had Terry Metcalf, Mel Gray back in the mid-70s. Used to give my Dallas Cowboys fits. And then his game is sort of like a Bob Greasy. We all know who he about, the Miami Dolphins. And as I always say, you brought up a good point, it's accuracy like Dan Fouts. And think about this. This guy persevered at the University of Florida. Think about all the great quarterbacks that's been in Florida. John Reeves in the 70s, Steve Spurrier, who won the Heisman Trophy in 66, Rex Grossman, and the great, unbelievable Tim Tebow. Like you said, I love this young man. Kyle Trask, to me, is really checked off all the boxes. I'm going to leave you with this. Everybody talk about Alabama and the great season they had under Mac Jones. He's right now one of the hottest quarterback prospects talking about Roll Tide. But when the lights was on, all I know is this when I judge Kyle Trask and really solidify him as being a bottom first-round draft pick. He put 408 yards on Alabama, and I believe he put up 4 or 5 touchdowns. And he looked like an NFL quarterback that day. Final words about Kyle Trask, Mr. Daniel Kelly.
Final words. I love the level of competition. You mentioned it. You talked about that. The level of competition is huge. I think this guy is a big-time gamer. Like I said, I think we're going to hear his name a lot in the National Football League. And Mr. Turner, you promised to do that thing the Florida Gators do. Where is it? There we go. There we go. That's what it's all about. I love him. I love him because he really resonated with me as an extremely instinctual football player. And that's what it's all about in the National Football League. When you think about instincts, you think about the things that Patrick Mahomes did last night on the move and improvise. You think of the things that Brett Favre used to do when he was scrambling around back there. You've got to be able to improvise in the pocket if you're going to play at a high level in the National Football League. Kyle Trask has got it. He's the pick at 19 for Washington.
My final words on Kyle Trask, I like his story. I like his journey. He hung in there at the University of Florida, waited his time, and when he got his time, he closed the book. So it's just like I always end all the videos. When I think about Kyle Trask, he's climbing up the ladder, like the great Isley Brothers, the R&B group out of Cincinnati, Ohio. And they said, I'm climbing up the ladder. Kyle Trask, the University of Florida. If you like the video today, please comment and share it. Enjoy your week. I'm not going to be able to enjoy it because my Kansas City Chiefs lost to Mr. Kelly's Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But y'all be blessed. It's been a pleasure talking to you this morning here on 100 Yards of Football.
Be blessed.